Okay, today we move to talking about another chapter, which is describing data, frequency tables, frequency distributions, and graphic presentation. So here in these chapters, we're going to be talking about, how to describe the data using frequency tables. Also, when the data is qualitative. Also, we're going to describe or present the data when the data is quantitative by using frequency distributions. And we're going also to discuss some graphical representation of the, the frequency tables or the frequency distribution. So remember, we have already talked about two types of variables, namely qualitative variable and quantitative variables. So we have two types of variables, qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative variable is reported numerically. Notice, qualitative variable is reported non-numerically. Okay? Qualitative variable is reported non-numerically. Okay? While a quantitative variable is reported numerically. We have already talked about this, the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Example of qualitative, such as talking about the gender of person, whether male or female, the political affiliation of somebody, whether he is Democrat or Republic, or he is belong to a certain group. So this is an example of qualitative data. Quantitative data, of course, is data that is reported numerically. Okay, so we have already talked about quantitative data. Examples of it, the amount of money you have in your balance, in your account. Okay, this is a quantitative data. The number of rooms you have in your house. Do you have 3 rooms or 4 rooms? This is, these are reported numerically. Now, to organize qualitative data, we use a frequency table. However, when we want to organize the quantitative data, we use frequency distribution. Okay, great. Now, here we have flow chart to show exactly how data are going to be organized. We have type variables, we have qualitative, we have quantitative. When we have a qualitative data, of course, how to organize the data when we have a qualitative data. Of course, to organize qualitative data, of course, we construct a frequency table. Now, frequency table. Now, most common graphic form, to represent the frequency table, we're talking about bar chart and bar chart. So, bar chart and bar chart are used to, to construct or are used to organize the frequency table. They are used when we have a qualitative data. Now, we go to the other type of data, quantitative data. As you see, to organize a quantitative data, of course, we construct a frequency table. We construct a frequency distribution. Frequency distribution. So, to organize a quantitative data, we construct a frequency distribution. However, to organize qualitative data, we construct a frequency table. Now, of course, based on the frequency distribution, we can have certain, a graphical presentation of the, frequency distribution. Namely, we have histogram and we have frequency polygon. So we use histogram and the frequency polygon when we have a quantitative data. Okay. Now, constructing a frequency table. Now we move to talk about the qualitative data. How to construct a frequency table. What is a frequency table? It is a grouping of qualitative data into mutually exclusive classes, showing the number of observation each class. So we're talking about, we're going to organize the qualitative data into frequency table. And the frequency table is basically a grouping of qualitative data into mutually exclusive classes. So we're going to have classes. Those classes are mutually exclusive. That is, they are not overlapping. In other words, there's nothing in common between them. Okay? The classes basically are qualitative, and we don't have anything in common between these classes. A mutually exclusive classes. Showing the number of observations in each class, that is the frequency. Each class, we're going to see how many observations are located in each class. That number of observations are called frequency. So we're talking about the frequency in each, class. So how many observations we have in each class, of course, that's how we're going to construct a frequency table. Now, what is a relative class frequency of frequencies? Of course, we have the class frequency, we have the frequency table, and we can, from the frequency table, construct a relative class frequencies. That is, each class, of course, in order to construct a relative class frequency, we divide the number of observations in each class by the total number of observations in the total number of observations that we have, okay? And we come up with a relative, frequency, relative class frequency. So a relative class frequency is obtained by dividing the number of observations in each class by the total number of observations. So, a relative class frequency is the conversion of class frequencies to relative class frequencies in order to show the fraction of the total number of observations in each class. It captures the relationship between the class total and the total number of observations. So that's what I said. So when we want to convert the class frequency into a relative class frequency, all we have to do is to divide the number of observations in each class by the total number of observations, and we come up with a fraction, with a percent, a fraction number. Or we can convert that into a percent by multiplying that fraction by 100, and we come up with the, the cumulative frequency numbers. Okay, now let's talk about the two important graphs that are related to qualitative data, namely the bar chart and the pie charts. Bar chart, it is a graph that shows qualitative classes on the horizontal axis and the class frequencies on the vertical axis. Remember, to construct a bar chart, we're going to list the qualitative classes along the horizontal axis, and then the height of each bar is going to represent the frequency of each class. One distinguishing feature of the class of the bar chart is that there is a gap or a distance between the bars, okay? Because we have qualitative data, of course, then the bars are not adjacent to each other, okay? We're going to talk about them later on when we give examples how to construct bar chart, okay? A bar chart, it's also related to qualitative data, a bar chart. It is a chart that shows the proportion or percentage that each class represents of the total number of frequencies. So a bar chart, of course, the first step to draw a bar chart is to record the percentages along the circumference of the circle. Start with 0%, 5%, 10%, 15%, and so on and so forth. This is the first step. We're going to show that when we give an example in a second, how to construct a frequency table, how to draw a bar chart, and how to draw a bar chart concerning the qualitative data. Okay, let's apply this problem to apply the concepts we already discussed about the constructing a frequency table. So we have this question here. Consider the following data that shows the responses to the question, what is your primary source of foreign news? What is your primary source for news? Of course, from a sample of 25 college students. So we asked 25 college students about their primary source of getting news. The responses were as follows: internet, newspaper, internet, TV, all the way. Okay, these are the responses of the 25 college students. Now we have, three questions, based on this problem. Summarize the students' responses with the frequency table. Okay, I can say A and B are related to each other. Okay, so we're going to calculate the relative and percentage frequencies. So in the same table, I'm going to do this. So this is, constructing a frequency table. First, the source of news. As you can see, we have the three sources of news over here. We have internet, we have newspaper, and we have TV. Now, how many individuals or college students responded with internet? That the internet is their primary source of news. One, you get two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 individuals, okay, said their primary source for news is internet. What about newspaper? Newspaper, they said 4 students responded that their primary source of news, is newspaper. Okay? And TV, you have 9 students said they get their news or their main news comes from TV. So these are the frequencies. Now, if the question summarizes students' responses with the frequency table, this is the end of the question for number 1. Number A, you get the classes, the source of the news, and the frequencies. This is a frequency table. Now, B says calculate the relative and percentage frequencies. Okay, this is the relative. This column here is relative frequencies, and this is the percentage relative frequencies. Relative frequency, what you do, we divide the number of observation in each class. Here in internet we have 12. So we divide 12 over 25, we got 0.48. This is the relative frequency. We divide 4 over 25, we get 0.16. This is the relative frequency. We divide 9 over 25, and we get 0.36. The sum of all these is 1. Okay, these are fractions. Okay, the total is 1. Okay, great. Now, we want to calculate also the percentage frequencies. All we have to do, we just multiply the relative frequencies by 100 to get the percentage. So 0.48 times 100, we come up with 48%. 0.16 times 100, we come up with 16%. And 0.36 times 100, we get 36%. The total of these is 100%. So this is here, the equation about constructing a frequency table along with the relative frequencies and the percentage relative frequencies. So this table here includes, the frequencies, classic frequencies, and percentage relative frequencies. Now we move to part C. Part C, draw the corresponding bar graphs and bar chart. Bar graph, we have, as you can see, along the horizontal axis, we're going to have the outcome that we have here. We have internet, newspaper, and TV. Okay, these are the classes. So we have internet, newspaper, and TV. And these are the qualitative data. Now, and along the vertical axis, we're going to have the frequencies. Now, if you look over here, internet, is the class, the frequency is 12. So we draw a bar, a rectangle, okay, shape, with the height is equal to 12%. This is 12% over. with the height is equal to 12. Okay? You could, if you want, draw the height or the vertical axis with the relative frequencies or with the percentage of the frequencies. But the usual drawing is based on the frequency here along the vertical axis, and here along the horizontal axis we draw the outcomes or the classes. So the internet, we draw a bar, as you can see here, and with the height equal to 12. Now, the newspaper, of course, we draw another height similar to the previous, another bar, similar to the previous bar of the internet, however, with a height equal to 4. So this is newspaper, height equal to 4. And now we move to TV. TV, of course, this is the class TV with, of course, a frequency of 9. So we draw a bar, similar to the bar here, same thickness, with a height equal to 9. Remember, now a distinguishing feature of a bar chart is that there is a gap or distance between the bars. There is a distance, a gap between this bar and this bar. Also between this bar and the other bar. We have a gap. They are not adjacent because the data is qualitative data, therefore they are not adjacent to each other. Okay, now we move to drawing the bar chart. Okay, this is a bar chart. Okay, the very first thing you do, the first step is to draw a circle. We drew a circle, as you can see. Then the next step is to record the percentages, of 0%, 5%, 10%, and so on, evenly around the circumference of this circle. So we could just 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 20%, 25%. This is 1/4 of the circle because the circle has, of course, consists of 100%. So this is 50%, this is 75%, and this is, of course, 100%, 0 or 100%. So the very first step is to record the percentages, 0, 5, 10%, evenly around the circumference of the circle. The next step is that we know that internet, of course, it is 48%. So what we do, we draw first a line from the center of the circle over here and to 0. This is the line. The very first thing, the very first step in order to mark the internet, the 48%, is to draw a line from the center to 0%. Then you draw another line from the center to 48%. 48% is over here. So another line here. Okay? So we get, as you can see, this is the whole thing here. This is, we could say, it is internet. Okay? So this is internet, it's 48%. 48%. Okay? Now, we move to drawing a newspaper. So what you do? Add 48% to 16%. Because newspaper, the percentage of it is 16%. 48 to 16%. So we got 64. Okay, so we get 64. 48, get 58, 60, 64%. So we move here, we draw a line from the center of the circle to 60, of course, 58 to 64. That's 64 over here. That's 64. Okay, so this one over here is newspaper. Okay, and this is here is 16%. Over here we get 48%. Now we need to draw what? The last outcome or class TV. So we have to add to 64% at 36%, which is 100%. So this is, draw a line from here to to get 100% is over here. So this is come here. We come up with, of course, this one here is, of course, a TV. Okay, and TV, we get it, 36%. So this is how we draw, of course, the pie chart. The first thing to draw a pie chart, draw a circle, then record the percentages, 0%, 5%, 10%, and so on, evenly around the circumference of the circle. Then to draw the first outcome, of course, draw a line from the center of the circle to the 0%, and another line from the center of the circle to the, the percent of that outcome, and so on and so forth. So this is the drawing of the, by a chart. Okay, now we move to example number 2. That is, is to apply the concepts of constructing, frequency table regarding qualitative data. Example 2 says, consider the following bar graph. This is the bar graph. As you can see, the bars, are separated. There are gaps between the bars, distance between the bars, because each bar consists of a qualitative outcome. Therefore, there is a distance. They are not adjacent to each other because they are qualitative data, and therefore there are gaps that separates the bars. This bar and this bar, we have a gap between them, and so on and so forth. So you have 50 soft drinks purchases, and this is the bar graph, okay, drawn here, which consists of classic, Coke Classic, Diet Coke, 7-Up, Pepsi Cola, Sprite. Now, use data provided in bar graph here to construct a frequency table showing categories and corresponding frequencies, relative frequencies, percentages, and angles. So we're going to include in the frequency table all these concepts, namely the frequencies, the relative frequencies, the percentages, and angles. Now, this is, as you can see, those are the classes. Coke Classic, Diet Coke, 7-Up, Pepsi Cola, and Sprite. These are listed here. Now, soft drink, this is the classes here. Coke Classic, we see the number of observation in Coke Classic is 19. This is 19. This is the frequency. Diet Coke, we see the number of observation in Diet Coke is 8. That is, the frequency is 8. The same thing goes with 7-Up, Pepsi Cola, and Sprite. So we list all these frequencies here under the frequency column, and the total of them is 50. Okay, now we move to calculate the relative class frequency. So to calculate the relative class frequency, all we have to do is to divide the number of observations in each class over the total number of observations, which is 50. So 19 over 50, we come up with 0.38. 8 over 50, we get 0.16. 5 over 50, 0.1. 13 over 50, we get 0.26. And 5 over 50, we get 0.1. The total of those is going to be 1, because these are fractions. The sum of all those fractions equal to 1. Now, we move to the percentage relative frequency. Of course, to find the percentage, all we have to do, multiply the fraction by 100, each fraction by 100. So 0.38 times 100, we get 38%. 0.16 times 100, 16%. 0.1 times 100, we get 10%. 0.26 times 100, you get 26%. And 0.1 times 100, you get 10%. The total of those percentages should be equal 100. Should equal 100. Okay? 100%. Now, to calculate the angle, all we have to do, multiply the relative class frequency times the 360 degrees, because the circle consists of 360 degrees. So all we have to do, multiply 360 degrees times the relative class frequency. So here the relative class frequency 0.38. To find the angle in the code classic, all we have to do, multiply the relative class frequency 0.38 times 360. Multiply times 360, we come up with what? 136.8 degrees. The same thing. We multiply 0.16, the relative class frequency of the line code. We multiply this times 360 degrees, and we come up with 57.6 degrees. The same thing we do to the third, class 7up. It is 0.1. We multiply 0.1 times 360 degrees, and we come up with 36 degrees. We move to the Pepsi Cola. We multiply 0.26 times 360 degrees. We come up with 93.6 degrees. And then finally, we multiply the relative class frequency of Sprite, which is 0.1, times the 360 degrees, and we come up with 36 degrees. Remember that the sum of all those degrees should equal the total degrees in a circle, which is 360 degrees. Okay, now, part B of the problem, question B, construct a pie chart. Remember, to construct a pie chart, first we draw a circle. Then the next step is to record the percentages of 0%, 5%, 10%, 15%, all day, evenly around the circumference of the circle. You could mark 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25%, 30%, 35%, 40%, 45%, 50%, and then we take another one, 75%, we move to 100%. Okay? We do this. It's very simple. Now remove the first co-classic is 38%. So what we do, we draw a line first from the center of the circle here, from the center of the line, from the center to the 0%, and then another line from the center of the circle to 38%. That's 38%. And then this one is going to be the co-classic, which is 38%. Now remember, 38%, when we convert that to degrees, it's equivalent to 136.8%. So 38%, which is related to the co-classic, is equivalent to 136.8%. So 38% is the same as 136.8%. 136.8%. Okay. Now we move to draw the, this slice here from 0 to 38%, that is related to co-classic. Now, the circle consists of many slices. This is the first slice that is related to co-classic, which this is 38%, which is the same as 136.8 degrees. Now, we move to draw the second slice, the slice of dico, which is 16%. So what we do, we add to 38%, we add 16% to come up with 64%. So we draw a line from the center of the circle to 64%. And then the slice between 38% and 64% is the one that corresponds, of course, which is 38 plus 16%, we get 54%. Okay, so we draw a line from the center of a circle to 54%, to 54%. Okay, and so the slice that is between 38% and 54% belong to Diet Coke. Diet Coke. 16% of this is equivalent to 57.6 degrees. So 16% is the same as 57.6 degrees. Now, this is the second slice of the circle, which is related to Diet Coke. Now we need now to draw the third slice that is related to 7-Up. So what we do, we add to 54% 10%, which is 64%. So to draw the third slice, what we do, we just draw a line from the center of the circle to 64%. And so as you can see, then the slice that is between the boundaries of 54% and 64% is related to 7-Up, which is 10%, and 10% is equivalent to 36 degrees. Now, to draw the fourth slice, we add to 64%, we add 26%, and we come up to, of course, 90%. So what we do, we draw a line from the center of the circle to 90%, and so the slice that is between 64% and 90% is related to what? Is related to Pepsi Cola, which is 26%. And that 26%, is equivalent to 93.6%. 93.6%. So 26% is the same as 93.6 degrees. 26% is the same as 93.6 degrees, and that is related to Pepsi Cola. So this slice, the fourth slice of the circle, from 64% to 90%, which is 26%, is related to Pepsi Cola. Now, to draw the last slice, which is the slice of Sprite, all we have to do, we add to 90%, 10%, which is 100%. So this is, from 90% to 100%, we have the slice that is not 10%, which belongs to Sprite, and that 10% is equivalent to 36 degrees. Okay, that belongs to Sprite. So this is the way we draw, of course, the bar chart. This is the method of drawing a bar chart. You follow the same method I did to draw any bar chart.